Now we go to Solmaz. Solmaz is there. Solmaz Yadollahi is a conservation architect, urban heritage preservation from Iran. Congratulations for the 2 nominations today. You're also in the group of Cottbus,
yeah.
The expert producing machine of Cottbus.
Quality producing machine.
And you're going to tell us about Tabriz you're going to talk about a specific case,
Yes.
right? So please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, Professor Bandawin, and thank you, Professor Albert, for the opportunity. Today, I'm going to talk about how I integrated the factor culture in the methodological framework of studying social sustainability in a historical public space, Tabriz Bazaar, which is also a World Heritage site in Iran. The way I'm using the social sustainability principles comes from the similarity of social sustainability principles with the values that we assess publicness of public spaces with, how much they can allow social diversity, how much they can allow equal access, equal openness for all users. And through my ethnographic research in this World Heritage site, Tabriz Bazaar, I have done studies, surveys to identify or to understand how the local culture and the norms of space use and territory defining in the local culture can help us to identify publicity and privacy of spaces, and also assess the social sustainability factors, because I'm working based on indicators, but indicators were so international, so like global, I needed to localize them, sort of. And the problem with the Iranian bazaars in cities like the large cities like Tehran, like Tabriz, like Isfahan, which have a commercial background and are fastly growing, is that in the last 100 years, as I studied, the bazaars and the inner city is going through a process of isolation, being isolated from the rest of the city. And this has resulted, this is a result of, one of the most important causes is that we have centralized the certain functions of commercial functions and urban administrative function at the center. But during the last century, we haven't invested enough economic capital and social capital in the city centers. And therefore, today, we face this problem that they are not able, the public spaces at the city centers are not able to address the needs of all public members. They are crowded, but as I will show you within my studies in Tabriz Bazaar, they are attracting certain groups of people and chasing out other groups of people. And so I identified in Tabriz Bazaar a lack of social diversity, which is very crucial for its future conservation. And this is just an example that I did in Tabriz Bazaar. So I did in 3 different stages, 3 different years, ethnographic surveys and also quantitative surveys in Tabriz Bazaar. And everything started from here, that this outcome of the fieldworks really changed the direction of my work, because I saw that 84% of the users of Bazaar are male, and about 20% are female, and the rest are children. And when I compared the same results that I have got from a modern shopping street near this bazaar, the numbers, the figures were remarkably different. So you could identify more women, more family like groups, more children in the modern shopping street, just near in the same neighborhood of Tabriz Bazaar. So I asked myself why. And this map is one of the behavioral studies map. I just mapped who goes where, and I mapped pedestrian flow, which spaces are the rush zones, which spaces are the slower zones, where people regularly or normally tend to sit or I mean, this is an example of behavioral mapping. And I thought that this is crucial for these groups of bazaars in large commercial cities, need a kind of a toolbox or a methodological framework to be studied. And the first step of this methodological framework is to understand how is this process of isolation according to the causes of political, economic causes, social causes, physical, functional causes that are mainly due to urban management issues. And these are the corresponding methods of data collection. And at the second step, I identified a problem. Maybe everybody who works on public space has identified it. It is not possible to define boundaries, which define here is public, here is private. It is you can only identify a spectrum of publicity and privacy. And to define that, here was a kind of integrating culture into understanding or defining a map or mapping the spectrum of publicity and privacy in Tabriz Bazaar. So I used the factor culture here the way an ethnographer uses. So I just studied the repeated patterns of relationship of people and the specific spaces in Tabriz Bazaar. And I just did a recording of the established, culturally established behavior relationships of people and the spaces in the bazaar. And then I mean, this is the map of, this is again based on three-phase data collection. And because I thought it should be respected. For example, there is a courtyard which is privately owned, but usually workers gather there, so it's their territory. So an urban planner should know these kinds of issues. And they have gathered there for 100 years. So, and their colleagues before them. So I try to map these kinds of issues in Tabriz Bazaar, and then with analyzing the architectural design, how the spaces are designed to be more privately controlled or more publicly accessed, and the ownership map and the current function of the spaces, because certain kinds of function attract certain kinds of people or a certain volume of public members. So this should be, all these should be considered to be able to define which space is how much public. And I'm using all these maps to make a publicity privacy map of Tabriz Bazaar. And then in the next section of this toolbox that I have designed, I'm using or I'm approaching the term culture as a sociologist approaches it. So I'm questioning this culture that I mapped and exists based on First, social sustainability indicators and publicness assessment indicators, and also based on what different focus groups that I have identified expect from the public space, and not the majority only, or the expectations of the people also who are not interested in using the bazaar. So here I tried to identify conflicts and find solutions for these conflicts. And the first category of my indicators were based on assessing the space itself, the built environment. So there are well-being infrastructures and physical accessibility issues. And the first group of indicators are in the inner city, the area that influences bazaar's publicness. And the second zone was inside the bazaar itself. And so these are basically based on assessing the built structure and the infrastructure available in the bazaar. But the second was social cultural openness and attractiveness of the bazaar towards all focus groups that were identified. And here I triangulated the results from different methods, such as counting people, tracing people, looking for the traces that they left behind in the built space, and doing interviews with them to identify what are their needs and what are their expectations, and how are the conflicts between users. And then finally, the management and legal openness of a public space is another issue that needs to be assessed. And here I compared the results of interviews and the structure of existing management system in the bazaar. And I did a history of conflict like progress, and I tried to root down the existing conflicts in the system, in the traditional system that existed in 1906, and after that it started to change. But in these 10 minutes, I don't think I can explain all this. But after that, there is a normal SWOT analysis, and I proposed some strategies based on use management. So which spaces should be used in which areas, in which functional areas. And but I leave the action plan for the local administrators because it's very detailed. But to sum up, this paper calls for social diversity in the bazaars and in Tabriz Bazaar because maybe as urban planners we cannot decide or we cannot anticipate what will go on or what will happen with such public spaces in future, in 50 years, for example. But if we open up these spaces to more diverse groups of people, they can enjoy a diversity of ideas. They can enjoy, so we put them in the right hands, not in the hands of just a limited group of people. And they can enjoy their the economic and social investments of all citizens and not just a small group. And also, so therefore, I presented the toolbox which can be, which can be used, but also modified for bazaars like Tabriz Bazaar in Tehran and Isfahan, and the strategies, which is a use management strategy, is only for Tabriz Bazaar. And thank you very much.
Thank you. So,